We also have a wonderful presentation on from the Countywide Planning Division. And who's starting? Ms. Thompson or Mr. Barnett Woods? On Hyperloop? Hyperloop.
Yes, Hyperloop.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the board. For the Transportation Planning section, I'm Brian Barnett Woods. I'm pleased to introduce Ifton Thompson, a senior planner with Transportation Planning, and I believe this is her first presentation to the Planning Board, so we're very excited about that.
And we're excited too.
Wonderful. She'll be talking about the Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland Loop project. And this is a high-speed transit line that goes from the two cities. As a point of clarification, the Loop project is not a planning department project. It is not a county Department of Public Works and Transportation project. It's a private transportation project, and it's going through the environmental assessment process with Federal Highways and Maryland State Highway Administration as the project sponsors. Recently, the Boring Company, that's the name of the company that's responsible for the project, released an environmental assessment and has solicited for public comments through the Maryland State Highway Administration. Similar to other regional transportation projects that we've heard about, it's important that we provide comments, and we've drafted a letter, which I believe is in your backup. This presentation is informational only. While there are many, many details in the environmental assessment, there are also many, many remaining questions, particularly surrounding the details of how this transportation system will actually function and the process behind it, and many of the technical aspects. There also seem to be changes that are happening from the private company's perspective that will impact the way this project works, and those changes have happened pretty much continuously, so even since they've released their environmental assessment. As part of the comments letter, we're recommending that someone from the Boring Company give a presentation as well to the Planning Board. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Ms. Thompson.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Miss, will you tell us a little bit about yourself before you start?
Yeah, sure. My name is Ifton Thompson. I was born in Washington, D.C., raised in Prince George's County, actually in Sea Pleasant, Maryland. And I've actually started with the commission when I was 16 as a lifeguard and a swim instructor. And then I moved on to be an intern while I was an undergrad for the summer of 2014 as well as the summer in 2015. And then I went off to grad school, and after I graduated from grad school, I took a position here as a senior planner.
So all of that prior experience just helps, and we're really glad to have you. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did you go to undergrad?
I got my bachelor's in transportation systems engineering from Morgan State University and my master's of science in civil engineering from Iowa State University.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so good morning again. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Brian. As Brian has already alluded to, this project is proposed by the Boring Company, who recently submitted an environmental assessment, also known as an EA, to State Highway Administration. They are currently seeking comments from the public in regards to the loop proposal before making any final decisions. In this presentation, I will provide a background on this project and discuss the major area of concerns within the county. In addition to this presentation, we have drafted a letter with our initial comments about the project, which we hope to submit to State Highway Administration and the Boring Company before the requested deadline. What is the Loop project? Well, the Loop is a high-speed public transit system that runs up to 150 miles per hour and transports people in what is known as autonomous electric vehicles, also known as AEVs. Right now, it is just a loop system, but one day may have the capabilities of becoming a hyperloop system. The difference between the two is that the loop system actually can run up to 150 miles per hour, and the hyperloop can run 600 miles and more miles per hour. So basically what that means is just the loop project will get you from DC to Baltimore in 15 minutes. The hyperloop will get you from DC to Baltimore in 8 minutes. One thing is,
and I'm glad you put that in there. It's not the maglev project.
Yes, it is not, absolutely not the maglev project. They do serve the same purpose, however, they are not the same project. They are being proposed by two different companies, and they use two different technologies. So now I'm going to get into some of the components of the Loop project. First, we have the autonomous electric vehicles, also known as the AEVs. These are vehicles that the passengers would use to get them from point A to point B. Second, we have the main artery tunnels. This is where the AEVs will travel to get passengers to and from their destination. An example of the main artery tunnel is actually shown below. Right here, it's actually a rendering. Next, we have loop stations. This is where passengers will access the loop system, and this is similar to going into a metro station in order to access a metro train. Continuing on to more components of the Loop project. Next, we have ventilation shafts. These are ground surface structures that will provide ventilation, emergency egress, and maintenance access. We actually have an example of a ventilation shaft shown below. This is actually a ventilation shaft that I'm highlighting in red. It looks almost like a shed or a house, as you would call it. And this is its tunnel that is actually connecting to what would be the main artery tunnel down here. Then there's the boring machine launch shafts. These are ground surface shafts used to construct the underground main artery tunnel. Both the ventilation shafts as well as the launch shafts are completely above ground. They are not underground whatsoever. Next, we have the maintenance terminals, I apologize. Following construction, some of the launch shafts will actually be converted into maintenance terminals, which would be used for maintenance and charging of the AEVs. So right here, this was actually a side of where I was going to show you a video of how the loop system operates. It was supposed to be a video that was taken in a test tunnel in California, but unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we were unable to show the video. But I can just kind of give you a little bit.
Okay.
Right here, which I'm highlighting in red, that is an example of the AEVs where the passengers will get into. As you can see, it's kind of on what is a skate. It kind of skates its way to get it from point A to point B. And this white, which would be the tunnel, so it's actually moving through this tunnel to get to its destination. So for this project, there's only one alignment, which is shown on the photo to your right. It follows highway right-of-way under US Route 50, also known as New York Avenue Northeast in Washington, D.C., and the Baltimore-Washington Parkway, Maryland 295 into Russell Street. There are only two loop stations, first one being 55 New York Avenue Northeast in Washington, D.C., second one is 333 Camden Street in Baltimore, Maryland. Along the alignment, there are expected to be up to 70 ventilation shafts. As of right now, all 70 ventilation shafts are undetermined. Also along the alignment, there's expected to be 5 launch shafts, and 3 are actually proposed within the county. The anticipated travel time is approximately 15 minutes, and the capacity is 1,000 riders per direction per day.
1,000.
1,000 riders per direction per day.
So how many persons does each vehicle hold?
About 4 to 6.
Oh, okay. So the photograph is just a photograph. So it's more like a bus type of.
Well, it's actually. Yeah, I said 426.
Oh,
You thought I said
okay.
420. Okay, no.
Gotcha, I'm sorry.
426.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a car,
right.
in a typical car that you would, have people ride in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're going on to the impacts in Prince George's County. As I mentioned earlier, State Highway Administration is asking for comments on the EA submitted by the Boring Company for the Loop project. We have drafted a letter that goes into detail of the impacts of this project has on our county, which we can go through following this presentation. For this presentation, I will highlight a few of the project's impacts in 4 major categories: communities, environmental, parkland, and transportation. For communities, one of our concerns is passenger cost. We want to ensure that subsidies are provided to low-income individuals. We are also having concern about mitigating the negative impacts during construction and operation of both the launch shafts and ventilation shafts for neighboring communities. Another concern of ours is emergency egress procedures, with particular attention on ADA compliance. How will the person with disabilities be accommodated during regular operation and in case of emergency? For environmental, one of our concerns is the potential impacts to the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center and the Patuxent Wildlife Research Center, as well as mitigating facilities that are constructed in floodplains or other sensitive areas. Continuing on, parkland, we actually have 6 of our parks that are within the proposed alignment, 5 that are in proximity to the proposed alignment. For transportation, construction is expected to last up to 2 years. A traffic management plan is currently, was not currently provided, but is needed to understand how traffic impacts will be mitigated during construction of both the launch shafts and ventilation shafts. We need more details into the noise impacts within communities and how they will be mitigated, as well as of right now, impact on traffic congestion is unclear. This is expected to transport 1,000 riders per direction per day, which is actually only one 8-car metro train. Therefore, this project may have minimal impacts to reducing traffic congestion. However, more information is needed in order to understand how it's expected to reduce traffic congestion. The next few slides are images from the environmental assessment identifying where launch shafts will be located within the county. This is where the impacts will be felt the most. They are completely above ground and will require a lot of digging and hauling for construction of the main artery tunnel. The first one that we have in our county is actually launch shaft C, which is located in South Laurel. This is actually the alignment right here, but the launch shaft, first launch shaft can be seen right here. I don't know why this is in red. Sorry, my pointer is kind of moving slow, but I'm kind of pointing it to it in red. This is surrounded by mostly a residential community with a few commercial properties. Up next, our second launch shaft within the county is located in Greenbelt, particularly in Greenbelt's Greenway Shopping Center, and it's surrounded by mostly commercial properties. I'm also pointing to it here. The third and final launch shaft that will be within our county is located in the city of Cheverly. As of now, the exact location of launch shaft E is undetermined. They have highlighted a particular area of interest in the visual map before you. This location is mostly an industrial area. One of our concerns for all 3 launch shafts is the difference in sizes. The EA does not address the reason for why they have a difference in size in all 3 locations. In conclusion, the Loop project is a high-speed transit system from DC to Baltimore with no stations or direct access in Prince George's County. This project will heavily impact our environment, communities, and roadways. And it is also unclear how this project will be beneficial to traffic congestion in comparison to other modes of transport. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to go over the Loop project. If you have any questions, I'm open to hearing them.
First,
No, I have a question, just a comment. It was the same one that I had with the Megla, is why they're starting in DC as opposed to National Harbor. And then you can have proximity to people traveling from Virginia over to take it. So that might be a comment that we want to give to them, that we may want to give.
are there other questions? There's something deja vu-ish about this. I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment. You just wanted to keep us posted on this. Maybe we can watch the video another time, but we appreciate your presentation, and I'm going to turn to my board and say, okay, so what about Ms. Thompson? Good job? Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're, thank you for the presentation. We'll just, please keep us posted.
Okay.
And maybe we can have, when we have our technology up and running, we can have another short presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
This is
Do we need, this was not action, right, or was it?
just information.
Okay, right, thank you.